y'all, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, please hit that subscribe button and that little bell, and if you are coming back, thank you so much. All right, so in this set I'm doing basically a refill or infill, however you want to say it, and I'm using acrylic. So I'm going to show you guys how I do this with acrylic. And so before I started, I sprayed the hand with alcohol, and right now I'm just trying to take off the gems, and I was actually struggling, so I took off what I could take off, and then I did the rest with the drill. Also, please know that some parts in this video is going to be sped up and other parts are going to be in regular time, so if things look a bit rough, I'm really not, it's just that part is really sped up. So basically what I'm doing over here is I'm just thinning out the nail as thin as possible, and you're gonna want to do this for all 10 fingers, especially if you had like a set on before. The reason you're gonna do this is because when you're applying the freshly new acrylic, you don't want to have it on the already thick, not, I wouldn't say thick, but you don't want it to have it on the old set that you had on, because if you do, it's just going to be double the thickness, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is thin out the nails, basically as thin as possible. Try to get it to the thinnest part, like when you're putting a tip on. If you can get it to that type of thinness, that would be really good, so that when you put the new acrylic on, it's like you just put a whole new set on the nail. And then when it's time to actually file the nails down and everything and shape up, you're not filing away at the new set because you put too much acrylic on, if you get what I'm trying to say. Also, I like to add a few other notes in this part is when you're doing this, use your drill on the highest speed, because that will help reduce the heat spikes in the nail. If you're running on the nails for too long, keep moving your bit, don't stay in one spot for too long. Also, you want to be very careful when doing this, because the thinner the nail goes, the more easier it is to break. So you really want to take your time, especially around the free edge area, so that way you don't break the nail and you don't have to like soak off that finger and put a whole new tip on. Alright, so over here, remember how I was trying to take the stones off and I couldn't? But these ones are like more like pixie type of crystals, I would say, and there is still some stones on this finger and some other ones. So I wanted to say that honestly, try not to do this as often, like using your bits to take off gems and stones, because that could really mess up your bits, especially if you have like a good one and you don't want to ruin it. So if you are going to do this pretty often, you need to use one that's not your favorite, I would say, and then because this stuff could really mess up your bit, or like really try to just use an old nipper to remove your stones. I just wanted to throw this in here. The discoloration you're gonna see throughout this set is from a set she had on previous to this one. So the set I'm taking off right now is her second set, and we are doing her second refill but third set, if that makes sense. But if you have any questions, really just leave it down below. I check every day, so alright, so on this finger, I'm really just removing lifting, and throughout the set you're going to see me do this because some of the fingers are just lifting right at the bottom. So how I did that, I just kind of ran the drill over top of it, but I wasn't consistent. I didn't stay on top of it. I just kind of ran it through. So that way, like when you do that on a high speed, the lifting part kind of just flicks off. So you just want to do that. If you don't feel comfortable doing it with the e-file, you could do it with the hand file, but I think that just takes longer in my opinion. Yeah, and then so for this finger was lifting up pretty badly, so I was just like, there was no point of me filing it, so I just cut it down and thinned it out more, and then I just let it soak in 100% acetone, so that way I could put a new tip onto it. But I'm gonna explain this a bit better on the other hand, because there was actually two fingers a lot worse than Alright, so this is one of the fingers I was talking about. So I don't know if you can see right at the bottom of the nail where I'm running the drill, you can see like a white cast. Like it doesn't look like it's attached, like it's a white cast. So what I'm doing, I'm basically slowly running the drill. I'm trying to remove some of the thickness like over top of it, like at the top, and then I'm slowly just running the drill over it, and I'm not leaving it consistently on the thing. Notice how I'm like running and I lift it up. I'm running and I lift it up, so that way we don't create heat spikes. And then eventually what it'll do, it will just start to flick off. But I believe this finger wasn't flicking off, so I actually went in with some nippers and I kind of just nipped it off, and it didn't damage the nails when I do it. It doesn't damage the nail when I do it that way because it's already lifting off. I just need to like cut it off, if that makes any sense. So some parts were flicking off. I don't know if you could see, but I was having some struggles with this one part, so I just went in with the nippers and I cut it off. Same thing. I did the same thing with the index finger, and then for the thumb on this finger, I actually went up and cut it down to do the same thing so I could soak it off, because that one actually broke and she had glued it on. Yeah, so over here you could see like for the remaining parts that weren't coming off, I kind of just like, I wasn't like prying it off, I just kind of like the parts that were just lifting, I kind of just went in with my nippers, cut it off, and then I'm going back in with the drill to just make sure that it's sealed off, because you don't want any like openings, because if you do and you go and put your fresh acrylic on top, you can create like air bubbles, and like when you have air bubbles and stuff like that, you create room for moisture and greenies and funguses and stuff like that, and we do not want that. It's not cute. And for this finger, I just basically did the same thing. I was having some lifting at the bottom, so once again I just kind of used the drill to flick off some of it, and some of it wasn't coming off, so I used the nippers to kind of clip it off and then go back in with the drill to seal everything off, because again, you don't want to put new acrylic over it, like stuff that is not sealed, because that could really create trouble later on. Yep, so for the thumb, once again, she had glued it down because it cracked in the middle, so I just clipped it down, and then I'm filing it thin so that way we could soak it off and put a whole new tip on it and start fresh for that finger. So at this point, the other finger is done soaking, so I just went in with a fine sanding band and I lightly buffed it, you see, lightly, and just came right off. And right now I'm just pushing the cuticles back with a stainless steel pusher, and I'm lightly doing this, and you want to do this for all 10 fingers. So yeah, so make sure when you're doing this, you're doing it very lightly, because you can actually hurt your client and you don't want that. So after pushing the cuticles back, I'm just spraying the nails with alcohol. I probably should have dusted her nails off, her hand off, but I didn't. I don't know why, but it's okay. So now I'm just using that outward skipper bit to clean her cuticles off. For this client specifically, she doesn't have a lot of dead skin, but the skin around like her epinicium part is like very it's very thick. So I always just do this step nice, so that way it looks like it has been cut off nicely and everything. And then you want to make sure you keep this bit as parallel as possible to the nails, so that way we don't create indents and rings of fires. Like, that's the last thing you want, because once it grows out, like, you just give the room nail to crack, and that's not what we want. Alright, so after cleaning up the cuticles and cutting her nails down, I'm just going in with a fine zebra sanding band, and I'm just etching the nails nicely, making sure there's no shiny layer, like the shiny parts of the nail or anything like that. Just lightly, nothing crazy, because we already used the skipper bit. We just want to make sure this was done thoroughly, so that way we have no lifting and we still off the nails correctly. And I'm going to do the same thing for the index finger, but I'm going to go all throughout the nail because we had taken it off, right? So we got to make sure that one's nice. And I'm not putting too much pressure, like you really don't. You just kind of just want to run this through, but make sure you still get all the corners nicely. Now for this part, I'm using the bit I'm using is a fine carbide bit, and it's not a safety bit because I just feel comfortable using this one, and this is what I started off with. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting this down and I'm shaping it into a stiletto set, well, an almond, so that I could file into a stiletto set, because she wanted to go from coffin to stiletto, so that's what we're doing. And we're just cutting it down and removing the sides, so that way when it's time to file, I'm not filing too much. And while I'm doing this part, I noticed that when you are about to change a set or something like that, and you start to cut out the files and you're going shorter, the nails do get thicker. I don't know why it does that, but it's weird as hell. So it gets thicker. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna go over top, and I'm going to remove some of the thickness as well. Also, when I would just like to apologize, I noticed that some parts in this video was out of focus, and I would like to apologize for that, because when I'm doing sets, sometimes when I'm recording, I'm not really paying attention to the camera, so I would like to apologize for that. But I did get most of the important parts in the video, so I guess that's all that really matters. Now after not reshaping, but like cutting down the sides and cutting the nails down, I'm just taking a 100 by 80 grit file, and I'm just shaping everything to shape how I would like it, because the client did want her set in stiletto, so that's all I'm doing. And then from there I'm just gonna speed the next part, because I just basically did the same thing I just did for this hand to the other hand, so I'm gonna speed that part up. And yeah. So right now I'm just using a lint-free wipe with 100% acetone, and I'm just wiping the nails off. It helps one with remove debris like dust and dirt and everything, and also I feel like this step has really helped me with lifting. I don't know why, I just seen a big difference, also because I do this step and I also go in with the ASP nail dehydrator. I feel like that stuff is like magic as well. And then also right after that I go in with the Young Nailz protein bond. That stuff is like magic. I don't know what they put in that stuff, but yo, if you don't have it and you're having issues, like please, yo, do these steps and the protein bond. I do 2 layers of the protein bond, and I do 1 layer of the dehydrators each. So yeah, if that makes any sense. I do 1 layer of the acetone and then 1 layer of the dehydrator, which is this what I'm doing right now. And then right after that I do 2 layers of the Young Nailz protein bond. Try it out and let me know how it goes, because I feel like these steps has really helped me, and plus my prep game has like went up a notch, like, or 2. So guys, that's really the end of the video. Honestly, I didn't put the whole acrylic application part, because I really just wanted to focus on how I prep and get ready for an infill. If that makes a lot of sense, like how I prep and get ready for a lot, because I didn't see a lot of these videos on YouTube. Like I remember when I first started doing nails, and it was time to do refills on people, and I'm just like, yo, how do I do a refill on with acrylic, right? Like, it's not polished, so I'm just drilling, like I'm just filing off the polish, and then I'm just, you know, cleaning up the part that grew out and filling out the part that grew out and just putting another polish. Like, this is basically a whole new set. Like, how do I go about it? So I just wanted to put this out there for those who wanted to know how to do a acrylic infill or refill properly without having to completely soak off the nails, and then really just without having to soak off the nails and then do a whole new set. So I feel like this definitely does save time, because I feel like if I was doing it the other way, I probably would have added like another 40 minutes on top of what I am doing already. So honestly, at the end of this basically the time that it took was like basically like a full set, so like what, an hour and a half. Like, so yeah, so I basically just I sped up this part, so I kind of just recorded me laying the acrylic, but I'm not gonna voice over this because this, like, I didn't want to focus on this part in the video, so I just added it just so, you know, just for your entertainment, I guess. If you want, you can keep watching it, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that little bell so you can stay notified when I post, because I don't have a scheduled posting thing. So yeah, and share this video, please. Thank you.